Welcome to the RealPropPro podcast, where strategy, innovation, and wealth converge to redefine real estate investing.
Hello, and welcome to the RealPropPro podcast. I'm your host, Ian Dietler, fix and flipper and multifamily investor based out of Sacramento, California. Every episode, we dive deep with real investors, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who are out there doing real deals and building wealth. At RealPropPro, we help people learn and master real-world investing strategies like fix and flips, tax deed and tax lien investing, creative financing, multifamily, and so much more. If you want the tools, training, and community, please check out RealPropPro.com for some free resources. Today's guest is Mitch Craighead, owner of Joe Home Buyer Sacramento, a real estate investment company that purchases properties through traditional and creative strategies. Mitch has built a thriving operation, and today he will be digging into his personal journey, the mindset it takes to succeed in real estate, and how his team consistently pulls off amazing creative financing deals. Mitch, thank you for being on the show.
Ian, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invite. Any chance I get to share what I've learned through my experiences, I'm really passionate about helping others, and it's always great sitting down and just riffing with you anytime I get the chance.
I like to start to talk about people's life kind of growing up. So where were you born and where did you grow up?
Yeah, awesome. I grew up, so we're in Sacramento here right now. I grew up not far from here in the Bay Area on the peninsula, just south of San Francisco, a town called Millbrae. I went through high school there. Great place to grow up. I did a lot of, had a lot of experiences in San Francisco and up and down the peninsula growing up, skateboarding, playing sports, soccer. It was a nice childhood. I went on to go to college at San Diego State University. And after college, I moved back home-ish into San Francisco and spent the better part of my 20s in the North Beach and financial districts of San Francisco.
Sounds great. Where did you have any W-2 jobs? What did it look like kind of working jobs?
Yeah. So moving back to San Francisco, I was actually I had spent a lot of time while in college bartending, and I came up to bartend in San Francisco. I became a bar manager for the bar that I was working at. And shortly thereafter, the owner of the bar actually announced that he was ready to retire. So that was my first launch into entrepreneurship. Actually, was me and a friend of mine working to purchase a bar and kind of buy ourselves our jobs for the next few years, and that was a great experience for me. When I started my family about 18 years ago. That was around 2008. Okay. And the moment I started my family, I knew I was spending too many late nights, and I wanted a healthier atmosphere for my family. So I actually took one of my first W-2 jobs with a property management company. And that property management company, called the Irvine Company, was managing a small, for them, apartment building, 155 units, and kind of moved up pretty quickly with that company. My next task about a year later was to manage a 350 unit building in San Jose. So I moved my family to San Jose, and I spent the next 5 years or so in San Jose, climbing the corporate ladder there. Eventually, I became a regional manager for a major property management company. I moved to another property management company, was a regional manager there. So I do have real estate related as well. But for about 12 years or so, about 12, 13 years, I was a professional property manager.
That's a great experience. Can you talk a little bit about how that got you into real estate? I mean, obviously you're not investing at that point, but you're seeing what other investors are doing and what type of money they're making. Can you talk about how that maybe sparked a little bit of interest into real estate investing for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Even as a on-site property manager for the Irvine company, I was preparing financials on a monthly basis for senior leadership and looking at the bottom line of what these buildings were producing. And there were some white eyes around that, especially at a young age when I was making a decent salary, but seeing the potential of what these buildings can produce was very eye-opening. It was then when I actually first started kind of diving down the YouTube university rabbit hole with regards to uh, uh, real estate investing, wholesale real estate, creative finance, and started scratching the surface there. I actually went so far as to, you know, uh, in the evenings, be writing letters to homeowners at my kitchen table, me and my wife, and we would do 20 of those per night, get those in the mail, and get the phone ring for property owners that may have some stress or willingness to sell a property to us for either wholesale purposes or buy and hold purposes. So even in the infancy of my climbing the corporate ladder, I had an interest in real estate investing, and really that was my entrepreneurial spirit, just kind of still brewing, because it's really strong with me, and working that W-2, it and climbing that ladder, it was painful. It was secure sometimes. Like I did experience a layoff that just felt devastating. When downsizing happens, layoffs can really turn your world upside down. But overall, the benefits and the steady paycheck and all of that, it gave comfort while I was growing my family and building that foundation. But the skills that I was learning in professional property management through these tremendous structures that other leaders had put in place gave me the foundation to be able to lead my own team later. So, but that being said, back to your original question, Ian, looking at the numbers and looking at, really the financials on the projects that I was managing, yes, it opened my eyes wide open to the potential of, you know, of what holding real estate can do. And then, creative finance, because I took part in acquisitions of smaller buildings as well. And it was almost always a contingency of creative finance in those deals. And I started learning, pretty early on.
That sounds like when you're starting to learn what a seller carry is, lease options, master leases, all of those types of things. So that's really cool that you had that exposure. You had that. You got to see behind the scenes of what these bigger companies are doing. So it's really cool that you had that. So take us back to when you and your wife are just getting started. You're starting the family. You're starting to get into real estate. How did that kind of develop, and then how did that eventually lead you to purchasing a Joe Home Buyer franchise?
Yeah, great. So I mentioned that I had scratched the surface on real estate investing and was getting the phone ringing with potentially motivated sellers and things. And like so many other young investors, things kind of fizzled out a little bit there. And kind of fizzled out because I didn't know at the time, but there was something missing. There was something missing. I had YouTube university myself to death. And well, I've seen and heard a lot of other people do this on camera and listen to a lot of calls and things. Like, I don't know why it's not happening for me. It must be just a fluke. This is just, maybe there was something in the back of my head that thought this is just another get rich quick scam kind of thing. They're just everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. So that kind of fizzled out for me. But the one thing that I didn't know at that time was that what I didn't have that was a good mentor and good trainer. Okay. I was, you can watch YouTube all you want and listen to as many podcasts as you want, but without the specific direction of people who have actually done deals and hold your hand through those and come in and maybe even joint venture with you. It's really, really hard to get that first deal done. A lot of things unlock after getting one deal done, but it takes a while to get there. You have to get that first deal done first, right? So my wife and I, like I said, we were happy with my W-2 in a lot of ways until I experienced a layoff where I was like, you know what? This secure job is not as secure as everyone makes it out to be, right? Like even a good performer for a company can still lose their job overnight and you could be back to square one. How is that all that different from entrepreneurship, right? So some I got into the Joe Home Buyer franchise through my business partner. My business partner has been doing real estate investing in another state in Utah for 15 years, and he had been successful at it. The entrepreneur road, flipping properties, buying creative finance, all of that stuff. And he brought up to me one day when I was working my W-2 job and pretty miserable at the end of it. He said, you know what, you would be really good at this. You'd be really good at this. Some people that I know have created this franchise group. It's essentially a business in the box for real estate wholesaling, real estate investing, creative finance, and they are the coaching and mentorship you might need. That was 4 years ago. That was 4 years ago when I left my job, burnt the ships, and went into real estate investing training by buying a real estate investing franchise. So that was kind of the progression. The entrepreneurial drive with me just kept growing larger and larger, and my love for the W-2 kept shrinking to a boiling point where, you know what? Let's make a change. Let's roll the dice. Let's see where this goes. We can do it. My wife works as well. And she makes pretty good money. So we were able to work it out so that I can buy a franchise. She can help support the family while I get the business off the ground. And the rest is history. We're 4 years down the line and we have a thriving business and a good team put together. And we're glad we did it.
I can't believe that you only had this business for 4 years. That's insane. If you guys have seen how much growth this man has done and his company has done, it would just blow your mind. It's something more like a company that's been around for like 10 years would have the type of numbers and growth that you guys have. So kudos to you. Great work on all that you're doing. I cannot believe it's only been 4 years.
Thank you, Ian. It also feels like it was yesterday when I opened this business, but I look around me and sometimes I pinch myself. And it's been a crazy ride, but it absolutely, to me, it feels like yesterday that I opened the business, but the knowledge and the growth that I've made with me and every team member on my team it does feel like decades of education and experience. Yeah. A lot of it's because no 2 days are the same in this business. We are aggressively solving people's problems on a daily basis. Yeah. Whether that's through creative finance, cash purchases, rehabbing properties. There are no 2 days the same, and it just makes time fly, and that's a beautiful thing. As long as you're able to slow yourself down with your family and smell the roses and make sure it doesn't fly by working too much.
Yeah, that's great. That work-life balance is so important, not only for family, but I mean, mental health, I think, is also really important. In our industry, it can be very stressful at times. We have to deal with some very tough things, tough situations with sellers, and just I think it's just really important to really take care of yourself, take care of your mindset and your just overall mental health, because it is really important in this industry.
Oh, I could not agree more. And having a work life and mental health balance is something that I make a point of, because a lot of people will kind of pair your work life balance to your work and family balance. And that's really important, but your self-care is really important as well. A couple of things that I do to to help nurture my mental health are I'm a big mountain biker, and getting out on the trail, 2 or 3 times a week and spending an hour and a half with myself in nature, get my physical health on, get my mental health on. I will tell you that I've come up with the best ideas and the best solutions for problems in my business, not here in this office, but out there on the trail.
That's great. I love to hear that. I just love being out in nature as well. My wife and I, we love to hike and get out of town and go to really cool places and stuff like that. So I think it is really important to get out, kind of reset. Even, maybe you can't do a full vacation, but if you could do a weekend out in nature or just a weekend of just like not worried about work and all the day-to-day stuff, I think is really important. Earlier, you were talking about team. Can you talk about how you've grown your team? Can you talk about how things started and then kind of where they're at today?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The way my team is set up right now, I actually have an open position. I'm actively looking to hire someone in like an administrative assistant for our office and for myself. But we have 2 acquisition managers in our real estate investing company and a dispositions manager. Okay, so that's how my team is structured right now. It's essentially a team of 4 plus me as the general manager. So as a complete team, it would be 5, and everybody has a virtual assistant to support them. So sometimes that comes in the form of somebody who just does administrative tasks or projects, or somebody that does cold calling or lead follow up and things like that. But most of those additional team members are located, they're based out of the country. So really, we have a team of 5, flexing up to a team of 10 if you count our virtual assistants, and we consider them team members. 100%. We treat them like team members, like they're here with us, even though they work remotely. They work really hard and for us and with us and understand our culture. And speaking of culture, one of the most important things that we've developed to be able to have a strong team and keep a strong team. With a real estate investing company, turnover is very, very common. Very, very common. When I say I had 2 acquisition managers, that position oftentimes will turnover every year. Every year, you have it's an outside sales position essentially, and oftentimes people will learn what you teach them. They will move on as quickly as they can, because kind of like me, when I was working for apartment management companies and looking at those big numbers at the bottom, say, "Wow, I should be doing. I'm going to go and chase that." Right. So having a really strong culture and connections within the team, and valuing team members, expressing your appreciation, doing team retreats, and things to bring your team together and want to be there. It's one of the keys to success in growing a team, but most importantly, keeping a team. We have morning meetings every day, and there's always laughter, and there's always solving problems in those house.
Yeah, luckily I was able to be a part of one of your team meetings as we're kind of in a mastermind together, and I got to come and see how you guys work. So I can attest that you guys keep it fun and light and have a great time, but still get the work done. So that's really wonderful that you have that culture. You have you really focus on keeping your employees happy, making sure they have all the things that they need, and that they're fully supported.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the secrets, and it shouldn't be a secret to anybody, but for some entrepreneurs, it's really hard to develop that. It's all business all the time. That's where you have that turnover. That's where you're going to have that annual turnover. I have 2 acquisition managers. One's been with me for nearly 3 years, another going on 2 years. And my first hire, our dispositions manager, Noah, he's been with me for 3.5 years. 3.5 years. So he was my first hire about 6 months into the inception of my business. And very little turnover, and that's something to really be proud of as an entrepreneur. It's one of the biggest messages that I would give other entrepreneurs, especially if looking to grow a real estate investing company. Focus on the culture. Focus on the culture. Focus on the people. Not only is it a people business when we're out there trying to help families that have a distressed situation or a problem that you can solve, but it's a people business internally, right? So if you focus your entire business around people, letting it fall.
Can you talk about hiring that first person? What was kind of going through your head while deciding to add that first person? Can you talk about how you worked through that in your head?
Yeah, sure. So when deciding who to hire as your first hire, I encourage an entrepreneur to look at themselves in the mirror first and um, identify what they're really good at and what they bring to the company that they they can bring better than anybody else. And they hire around that. They hire the people that can support that role. For me, it was acquisitions. I looked in the mirror and said, I'm really great at getting in front of people, um, identifying a problem that I can solve for them, and putting a deal together that is a win-win. Okay. Um, Now, all of the back end, both the maybe selling of properties, the administrative part, the keeping the marketing going, pulling lists and ordering the mailers and all that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, Ian, that does not fill my heart. It just doesn't fill my heart. Yeah. So I look in the mirror and say, well, you're our acquisition manager and you need to hire somebody who can handle the administrative part. I was really lucky in that I didn't have to post for this first, second, third, or fourth hires. I've never posted an Indeed job posting. Everybody that's ever been on my team has come through my network. So I was introduced to my disposition manager, Noah, who a really good friend of mine who was a member of a private golf club that overheard Noah talking about wanting to get into real estate investing. And they said, you know what? I think my friend does that professionally. He's got a young company, but he's a rock star. And Noah said, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I want to be mentored. I want to see if the business is for me. And Noah was told by somebody very wise, and I agree with this, to go and find that person, for Noah to come and find me, and to offer his services for free for a period of time. Did that work for a young entrepreneur like me trying to get a business off the ground? Absolutely. 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 So for the first 90 days, Noah continued working at the golf club and he worked for me part-time, 20 hours a week. I'll give him commissions on any deals that I closed, but no base salary, anything like that for the first 90 days for him to get his feet wet, see whether real estate investing was for him, whether he wanted to do it on his own or whether he was more comfortable working in the business for for a company like ours. And I was lucky enough for him to say, I would like to continue my education with you after those 90 days. And I said, I would love for you to become an official team member and base salary plus commissions for a then 19-year-old young man. And now, we have a 23-year-old man that has more real estate investing experience than most of the 60-year-old adults that work in this business full time. So I'm really proud of who we've been able to develop in Noah, and he's become a tremendous asset to the company through the years. So I know it was a little bit long-winded, but that's the story of my first hire and where that person is today. And now that person, that this year that person will make over six figures as a 23-year-old, and be doing what he enjoys doing and what he was in YouTube University, probably TikTok University for him, right? TikTok University, and followed his dream a little bit and scratched the surface there. Now he's doing what he loves every day. So it's a great story.
Yeah, and as I know, he gets to work remotely as well, correct?
That's right. That's right. So I first brought Noah on when he was a Sacramento area resident. And at one point he told me one day, he said, I'd like to spread my wings. Some of my friends who work in golf also are migrating down to the Phoenix area. And with it's more about the culture, right? Like, I feel like Noah's position, moving to a remote status, will it affect our team? Yes, it will. it'll affect it negatively, but also the value that this person brings on a daily basis and our love for this team member and watching him grow and flourish. Like, why not give it a try? So it's been over 2 years that he's lived in Phoenix, and we're able to make that work and make it work as a team. More, more reason that people just know that we're here for one another, and it's important to try to accommodate. When an employee comes to you and they say, I think I need to move, the hardest decision I have to make around moving is leaving this company if I do.
So, kind of switching gears a little bit, can you talk to some of the younger listeners, maybe the newer real estate investors, the people that want to get into real estate? I feel like your company is really good at wholesaling and creative deals. Can you talk about ways that new people can break in? You kind of talked about YouTube University and how that was working for you. And then you got into this more structured approach. Can you talk to some of the newer investors on how to get started?
Yeah, such a great topic, Ian. Thanks for asking about it because as a real estate investor who's done both, I've done the YouTube University and I tried to make cold calls and mail on my own and try to figure things out and just kind of, what they might call failing forward, but without the right mentorship, right? I've done that, and then I've purchased a business in a box where I am every step of the process is provided to me, and then the coaching and mentoring every step of the way is there. To a new investor who's considering going the YouTube University route or TikTok University or whatever that the modern term for it is today. The best way to get your first deal or get into this business is to do deals with people who have done deals. Okay. Me and my team, we are committed to helping new investors even get their first or next deal. We help people, experienced investors have a renegotiate a deal that they have with the seller that's just not working. It's not penciling. Okay. It's a deal that's been in contract. There's a due diligence period. It doesn't seem to be penciling. We have jumped in plenty of times, renegotiated, worked through solutions, and have been able to help, either sell that property, buy it ourselves, or help wholesale it. So for newer people, highly encourage, do deals with people who have done deals in the past, and you'll get millions and millions of dollars of value and growth out of that, as opposed to trying to hold on to that deal because it's yours and just yours, be able to sell it, or I put it in a contract too high, whatever it may be. Now, it's the people that have done a lot of deals that can make a non-deal a deal every day. On the other hand, I'm also the president of NorCal Real Estate Investing Association, getting involved with groups like that. If you're really serious about real estate education, there's no better place than to get around people who are doing deals and continue the conversation, get your training from there, and you'll have access to people like me, the people like my acquisition managers and disposition managers to bounce ideas off of or come with a problem that needs solving. That's another great way to hedge against failure in this business, is to join a local RIA where you can get the support that you need on a daily basis.
That's great advice. I really like that because that's kind of how I got my start. I had realized that I wanted to get into real estate investing, and one day I just walked into a room and there's several older gentlemen in a room. It was a Sacramento 1031 exchange group, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just found it online, walked in, and I was like, "What am I doing here?" But that really meeting those people and talking with them and figuring out what they're doing, what's working for them, what's not, what their view of the market is, all of those things just really help so much. So I can't agree with you more that it's super important to get in front of people that are experienced and have done deals in your market, or markets that you want to work in. So I think that's really important. One thing that you had also mentioned is trying to figure out ways to provide value for investors. So what are some ways that a newer investor can provide value to a more experienced investor, maybe a mentor?
Yeah, absolutely. I can give you an example today, actually. We're working with an investor who's done a couple of deals, um, but um, but they're interested in like partnering with us on whatever they can. Okay. We gave this investor a list of doors to go out there and knock. Investors that are potential sellers that might have some distress in their lives. This person said, "Yes, absolutely, I will do it. Go and knock those doors." Actually, as of today, I think we're expecting signatures on an agreement. One of those knocked doors to say to solve somebody's big problem. It's a probate problem. It's a slaughter occupied problem that they absolutely can't and don't want to deal with. And that deal, because that investor reached out to us and said, "Is there anything that I can do to help you guys in your business?" That investor is a team member of ours for as long as he wants to be. If he wants to knock doors that we ask him to knock, and he goes out there and he brings the lead our way and we go ahead and close them, he's a 50-50 partner on that deal. By my estimate, it'll likely be about a $50,000 deal. Okay. So I know it sounds simple, but it's not easy. You know, walking up to a stranger's door and knocking on it and asking them if they might consider an offer on their property, or if they know anybody who might be willing to sell in that neighborhood. It's not for everybody. It's just not for everybody. Um, but there are various tasks that people can help an investor like me and my team with if they wanted to come and get some experience. We've had open arms for people who want to come and learn from us. It just takes certain levels of commitment, certain personality types. You have to be a great culture fit to become any type of team member on a team like ours, because we value it so heavily.
Now, you work on a lot of creative deals. Can you get into maybe some past deals or some creative ways that maybe a cash purchase wasn't the way to go for that particular situation? Can you talk about how you got into more of a creative deal and how that turned out?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to give you an example of maybe a little deal breakdown,
Yeah.
if that'll work. Um, all right. Well, actually, today I'm receiving a $40,000 down payment on a property that I purchased for $20,000 down. Okay. The way this shook out is we went to a property out of the area in Copperopolis, actually, and it started as a, maybe, hey, will a cash deal work for you? Guess what? There's too much owed on the mortgage for a cash deal to work. To help this lady whose firefighter husband had just passed away, and she wants to move back and be closer with her parents in Oregon. She wants to do it right away. Um, so we're like, how can we help you? Like, there's not enough meat on the bone. There's not enough spread for this to be like a cash deal. The property didn't need that much work. Um, maybe, maybe we can take over your loan payments. You can always pay a little bit more by taking over your loan payments while we do the rehab. Then we can either hold on to the loan. You're going to transfer title to us, but you're going to keep that loan in place and we'll continue paying it. That's called subject to um, seller finance. Okay, subject to we're purchasing the property subject to the existing financing. So we give her $20,000. If she wanted to sell that property on the market, she probably would have had to write a $10,000 check to sell that property, which she didn't have. We gave her a $20,000 check because we're buying a 2.65% loan along with that property purchase, right? That that's what I'm talking about when I say, how can we find a win-win for this person? She just lost her husband. She wants to move closer to family. She has to write a $10,000 check if she were to list her property on the MLS. The property has a bunch of dry rot damage. She can't afford to get a Section 1 clearance to even sell that property and write a $10,000 check. She's in a major bind. How can we help her? Well, listen, instead of you writing a $10,000 check, I'm going to write you a $20,000 check. I'm going to do a light rehab on this property. But hey, listen, in order to make that happen, I need to be able to make you loan payments all the way through the life of the loan. Okay, you're going to transfer title to me. The loan stays in place. I make those payments. Done deal. Today, I have an end buyer, so somebody that I am selling this property to, seller finance on a wrap. I'm taking $40,000 down payment. Okay, so you can do the math. I put $10,000 into this property. That's $30,000 total I have into the property ish, and some closing costs and things. But I'm taking a $40,000 down payment, so I'm actually netting about around 10. And then when I sell this, as I'm selling this to our end buyer, I'm selling it as me seller financing it. So I'm selling a mortgage payment where I pay $1,500 a month for that 3% loan, right? And I'm selling it at 7%. So that $1,500 payment that I'm paying, I have my payment being received by my seller finance purchaser, and that seller finance purchaser is paying me $2,700 per month. So now we're looking at about a $1,200 a month cash flow situation for basically the next 27 years. So we were able to create a win-win between us and the seller of the property. This person that I'm selling it to doesn't qualify for a bank loan. We're giving them modern interest rates with no bank involved, and they're putting down, 10% down. And I'm the bank instead of them. Our seller is kind of my bank, and there are no banks involved in any of these transactions. Our seller gets a win-win. The company here gets a win-win, and there's a win-win with the end buyer. And like opportunities like that, they're all around us, but they need to be created. You have to get the education before you can go out there and say, oh my gosh, a cash deal doesn't work here. I'm sorry, lady, you're screwed. Like, plan to list this property and write a $10,000 check at the close investment. That's what almost every other investor is going to have to tell her, right? And instead, we created this beautiful story for a lot of people through creative financing. And the great thing about cash flowing over $1,000 a month is that it feels like a rental, right? But at the end of the lifespan of the loan, the end buyer gets this property, right? So we made a little bit on buying it and then taking a down payment. Yes. Have we made $1,000 a month for the next 27 years? Yes, unless they refinance out or something, and then we'll probably make a chunk of change at that point. But the biggest wins here are for the seller and for the end buyer. Those people needed somebody who has creative finance knowledge to come and save their day. They needed someone to come in and get creative, do things legally, completely above board, and be respectful of like the loan in place, be respectful of everybody's situation without judgment, and put something together that works for them. So we've been able to do that for a lot of different families.
Kind of along the creative financing, I've kind of been told that as interest rates go up, it makes more sense to do more creative financing stuff. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, there are a lot of loans from when interest rates had dipped really low for a period of a year and a half or so, where, during COVID, interest rates got down to, in the twos. I know somebody who has an interest rate under 1%. And there are a lot of loans there. And when somebody sells their property with a loan like that in place, it's kind of sad, in my opinion. It's kind of sad because, like, my primary residence is a great example, right? I refinanced into a really great interest rate during COVID. I will never sell that property. If it were at a 6% interest rate, I would probably sell the property at one point. And especially here in California, we're looking at, in my opinion anyway, I don't want to get into too much speculation, but we're in we're in May of 2025. And as a result of how much appreciation California and a lot of the country has experienced in a short amount of time during and shortly after COVID, I see maybe appreciation slowing down quite a bit for the next few years. And as a result, I know a lot of buy and hold investors willing to look at their properties right now for that reason. Because as a real estate investor in California, you bank on the appreciation, not necessarily on the cash flow in a lot of cases. It's hard to cash flow here because the land value is so expensive, right, Ian?
Absolutely.
So if you can't see any appreciation over the next few years, what are you doing? And what are you doing with that property? Is it going to be more of a headache than anything? So I didn't mean to get off on a tangent there, but yeah, that's some of my thought process. The the loans with great interest rates and people not necessarily like wanting to sell. The people that want to sell can go ahead and want to sell all they want. Those typically aren't the the people that my real estate investing company are servicing. The people that my real estate investing company are servicing are people that need to sell and they have a problem, a reason why putting it on the property on the MLS with an agent, it doesn't make sense. Whether there's a time sensitivity or a situation like, Maggie Bragg in Copperopolis, where her husband just passed away. Her kids just finished school. She's out of here and she needs to get something done and she can't write a check to sell her property. Okay. We're providing services and a resource for people who need to sell, not necessarily kind of want to sell, right? And with properties with great rates like that, we're always open to talking about a solution that can help them. And yeah, they're more fruitful today than they ever have been because of the delta and where interest rates were to where they are today.
Mhm. You and I had both attended Deal Champs, and during that was Central Valley Real Estate Conference put on by the Deal Champs. Great event.
Great event.
Can't say enough about those guys. Wonderful people, wonderful educators, wonderful business owners. During that event, we had heard a couple people kind of predict a little bit about the market. I don't want to go too deep into it, but we had heard several times that in 2025, this year, quarters 3 and 4 were going to be just a great time for real estate investors. Do you agree with that assessment? And what are you kind of forecasting the rest of this year, maybe going into 2026?
Yeah, us being in early May of 2025 as we're filming this, and like everybody seems to have an opinion and some form of speculation on what the market's going to do for the rest of the year. Our president has just slammed down some pretty heavy tariffs on pretty much every
The
country in the
world.
world,
Yeah.
and there's it's unknown as to whether these negotiations are going to go anywhere or any type of any type of certainty is going to come back in any reasonable amount of time. And so I am choosing to wait and see what happens, as opposed to the times where I speculated that things were going to be really good at any given given time. Then I've almost never been able to accurately predict anything, especially over the last few years. During COVID, in June of 2022, when interest rates doubled overnight. Okay, I didn't see that coming. I bought 3 flips in April of 2022. I bought 3 properties. Luckily, I had enough spread to not lose on any one of those 3. Sold them by the end of the summer that same year, and was able to get those through without going into the red on any of them. Most just about every property that I Did I buy? I have enough spread for terrible things to happen. Doubling interest rates. Wow. That's a lot that can go wrong. That's pretty much the worst case scenario, when you're a flipper. But I've learned not to speculate as much, but keep my eye on what is happening today. Do that every day. Now, that being said, Ian, so far this year, with all the uncertainty in the world and in the real estate world specifically, it's been a very interesting first part of the year. Very interesting first quarter. When the tariff situation was laid upon America, we have a lot of people just freezing, just freezing. Do I think that people are going to remain frozen for the remainder of the year? I don't. I don't. That doesn't make sense to me. Okay. Even if the tariffs negotiations don't get resolved, I believe that people will start to treat things as a new norm as opposed to picturing worst case scenario or things getting much, much worse if things aren't resolved and things stay status quo from where we are today.
That's great insight. I really appreciate that. And I'm with you. It's never a smart idea to try to predict where the market's going to go. I know. I was with you so far as COVID came. So once COVID kind of hit, I thought the market was going to tank, and it actually turned out that the market went way up and prices skyrocketed. So got lucky on that, because that's when I started investing, was 2019. That's when I did my first flip, and I just thought it was going to be over. Like, I was like, here we go. I finally got into fix and flipping. I got my first deal, getting ready to sell this thing, and a global pandemic hits. Luckily, it turned out well. We actually made more than expected. So that's a little bit interesting. So Mitch, thank you for being here. There's so many good things that you have to talk about. And if there's anything about Mitch's journey that we should take away from today, is that it reminds us that real estate investing is bigger than flipping contracts or closing deals. It's about building something that outlives us. It's about creating a business that provides for you, your family, and the people you care about. Even if tomorrow doesn't go the way that you planned, make sure to do the best you can to build for the future and build a legacy. The cash flow you build today, the systems that you put in place, the people that you help today, they're all part of that legacy. If you're serious about real estate investing, about business, and about life, don't just build to survive. Build, protect, and build to last. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.